The Vanguard floated in the vastness of space, a brief respite after their narrow escape from New Avalon. On the bridge, the crew worked in relative silence, still processing the events that had unfolded. The weight of what they had witnessed, an entire colony consumed by its own ambitions, hung heavily over them. Captain Marik sat in her command chair, her eyes scanning the stars outside the view screen. Her mind raced with questions, none of which had clear answers. The colony's leader, Lorian Saul, had said they had discovered alien technology, but who had left that technology behind, and was it the last of its kind? "Captain," Commander Voss said softly from beside her, his voice cutting through her thoughts. "There's something you should see." Marik turned to him, her brow furrowed. "What is it?" Voss gestured to the main screen. "We've detected something unusual in the system, a small structure on the planet's moon. It's still transmitting a signal. Weak, but definitely there." Marik's stomach tightened. After the collapse of New Avalon, any remaining trace of that colony's secrets was something she couldn't ignore. "Is it connected to the colony?" "Possibly," Voss replied, his eyes glowing slightly as he accessed more data. "The signal is different from the distress call. It's more structured, like a beacon." Marik glanced at the rest of the bridge crew. Zora was already at her station, studying the readings with her usual focus. Orlis leaned against a console, her face still etched with concern. "Set a course for the moon," Marik ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The Vanguard glided through space, its engines humming softly. As they approached the moon, the source of the signal came into view. It was a small, cylindrical structure, ancient and weathered, covered in the same alien markings they had seen in the colony's core. It was partially embedded in the rocky surface, as if it had been there for eons. "Definitely alien," Zora confirmed, her voice carrying a hint of awe. "I'm reading high levels of energy coming from within, but the technology is dormant." Marik's eyes narrowed. "Is it safe to approach?" Zora hesitated, running a few more scans. "It appears stable for now, but I wouldn't trust it for long." Marik stood. "We'll take a small team. Voss, Orlis, Zora, you're with me." The shuttle descended to the moon's surface, landing just a few meters from the mysterious structure. The air outside was thin, cold, and devoid of any atmosphere suitable for human life. The team's suits automatically adjusted to compensate as they stepped out onto the rocky terrain. The structure loomed ahead, its alien markings glowing faintly in the pale light. There was an eerie stillness to the place, as if time itself had forgotten this moon. "What do you think it is?" Orlis asked, her voice muffled by her helmet's comm system. "A beacon," Voss answered, his eyes scanning the structure. "But I don't know if it was meant to guide us or warn us." Marik approached the entrance, which was a narrow passageway leading deep into the structure. The same unsettling feeling from New Avalon crept back into her chest. She had hoped they were done with this place, but it seemed that the mysteries of this system ran deeper than they had imagined. "Stay alert," she warned as they stepped inside. The interior was dark and cold, but the faint hum of energy was unmistakable. Strange flickering symbols lined the walls, pulsing softly in a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Zora knelt down near a panel, her fingers tracing the alien symbols. "This is incredible. The energy signatures are similar to what we saw in the colony, but more refined. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing." Voss moved deeper into the chamber, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. "There's something more here. I can feel it." Suddenly, the structure vibrated, and a low hum reverberated through the walls. The floor beneath them began to glow, illuminating a series of intricate alien patterns. At the center of the room, a console lit up, its symbols shifting rapidly, as if in response to their presence. "What's happening?" Orlis asked, her voice tense. "It's activating," Zora replied, her fingers flying over her scanner. "But I can't tell if it's responding to us or something else." Marik approached the console cautiously. "Can we shut it down?" Zora shook her head. "Not without knowing what it's doing. This could be anything from a communication device to a weapon. We're in uncharted territory here." Before Marik could respond, the symbols on the console shifted again, forming a sequence that Voss instantly recognized. "It's a message," Voss said, his voice low. "It's asking us a question." Marik turned to him, her heart racing. "What question?" Voss's mechanical eyes flickered as he processed the data. It's asking if we seek to transcend. Marik's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a beacon. It was a test, a remnant of the same technology that had led the colonists to their downfall. And now it was offering them the same choice. We need to leave, Marik said firmly. Now. But before they could move, the console pulsed with a brilliant light, and the room was flooded with a strange energy. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, and the floor beneath them shifted, revealing a hidden chamber below. Voss's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, something is coming online. We need to. The ground beneath them trembled violently, and a loud metallic screech filled the air. From the chamber below, a massive mechanical structure began to rise. It was a machine, ancient and powerful, its design far more advanced than anything they had encountered on New Avalon. Zora's face paled as she scanned the device. Captain, that thing. It's some kind of generator. It's powering up the entire structure. If it activates, it could destabilize the entire moon. Marik's heart pounded. We can't let that happen. Shut it down. I'm trying. Zora's hands flew across her tools, but the ancient machine resisted, its systems too advanced for her to easily override. The humming grew louder, and the walls around them pulsed with energy. Suddenly, Voss spoke, his voice calm but urgent. Captain, I believe this is what the colonists found. This is the source of their immortality. If we don't stop it, the cycle could begin again. Marik's mind raced. This was the same technology that had twisted the colonists into something unrecognizable, something monstrous. And now it was waking up once more, threatening to spread beyond the confines of this forgotten moon. Zora, can we destroy it? Marik asked. Zora hesitated, her eyes glued to the readings on her scanner. If we destroy it, it could cause a massive energy surge. We might not make it out. Marik clenched her fists. There was no easy choice. If they left the machine intact, it could bring about the same horrors they had just escaped. But if they destroyed it, they risked their own lives, and possibly the destruction of the entire moon. Captain, Voss said quietly, his mechanical eyes glowing faintly. You have to make the call. Marik looked at the machine, then at her crew. They had faced countless dangers together, but this felt different. This felt like the edge of something far greater than themselves. The edge of infinity, where technology and morality collided. We can't let this thing leave the moon, she said, her voice firm. Zora, do it. Shut it down or destroy it. Whatever it takes. Zora nodded, her hands steady as she prepared to make the final adjustments. The machine's humming grew louder, and the ground beneath them trembled once more. Marik held her breath. This was it, the moment that would decide their fate. The humming of the ancient machine grew deafening as Zora Callan worked frantically at the control panel. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, and the alien symbols shifted faster than she could keep up with. Every passing second brought them closer to the machine's full activation, and whatever cataclysmic event it might trigger. Captain, I'm doing everything I can, Zora shouted over the din, her fingers moving swiftly across the controls. But this system, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's alive, in a way. Marik stood beside her, heart pounding, as the ground beneath them trembled with increasing intensity. Keep at it. We can't let this thing go online. Dr. Orlis scanned the machine, her face pale. If that thing activates, it could spread its influence across the entire sector. Who knows what kind of devastation that would bring? Marik knew the stakes. This wasn't just about stopping a machine. This was about containing a force that could potentially replicate the horrors of New Avalon on a galactic scale. The consequences of letting it run unchecked were unthinkable. Voss, is there any way to slow it down? Marik asked, turning to her first officer. Voss, standing near the machine with his mechanical eyes glowing in the dim light, shook his head. Not without significant risk. The power source is already reaching critical levels. If we disrupt it the wrong way, the energy could implode and take us and the moon with it. Zora's hands paused for a moment, her face grim. Captain, I think I've found something. There's a failsafe, a self-destruct mechanism built into the core, but it's buried deep in the system, and triggering it might accelerate the collapse. Marik's pulse quickened. How much time would that give us? Minutes, if we're lucky, Zora said, not meeting her captain's gaze. It's designed to ensure that nothing from this structure survives. A heavy silence fell over the room. Marik knew this was their last chance. If they failed to stop the machine here, they might not live to see the consequences. But if they did nothing, the galaxy itself could pay the price. "Do it," Marik ordered, her voice steely with resolve. "Trigger the self-destruct." Zora didn't hesitate. She entered the final sequence into the control panel, her hands moving with a determination that matched Marik's. The machine's humming reached a fever pitch, and the chamber around them began to shake violently. "Captain, the core's destabilizing," Voss shouted, his voice barely audible over the noise. "We need to get out of here." Marik nodded, turning to her crew. "Everyone, back to the shuttle. Now!" As they sprinted toward the exit, the walls of the structure cracked and groaned, chunks of rock and metal raining down around them. The entire moon seemed to be coming apart at the seams. "Move," Marik shouted, urging her team forward. They reached the shuttle just as a deafening explosion shook the ground beneath them. The machine in the center of the structure had begun to collapse, its power source imploding as Zora's self-destruct command took hold. The ground quaked and fissures opened up across the surface of the moon. "Go! Go! Go!" Zora yelled, diving into the shuttle just as the door sealed shut behind them. Voss took the pilot's seat, his movements precise and calculated as the shuttle lifted off. "We're clear of the surface," he said, his eyes scanning the rapidly crumbling moon below them. "But the entire moon is destabilizing. We need to jump back to the Vanguard before the shockwave hits." Marik grabbed the comm. "Tori, this is Marik. Prepare for emergency extraction. We're coming in hot." The shuttle raced through the moon's atmosphere, dodging debris and cracks in the surface. Behind them, the structure continued to collapse, each tremor sending waves of energy rippling through the planet's core. As they broke free of the moon's gravity, the Vanguard loomed ahead, its docking bay open and waiting. The shuttle landed with a hard thud, and before the engines had even fully powered down, the crew rushed into the ship. "Captain," Tori Lenka's voice crackled over the intercom. "The moon's about to go. We've got to move." Marik barely had time to take her seat before the Vanguard shot forward, its engines roaring to life. The moon behind them erupted in a brilliant flash of light, the implosion sending a shockwave rippling through space. "Engage warp drive," Marik shouted. The Vanguard lurched forward, the stars outside stretching into lines as they jumped to light speed, just in time to outrun the expanding energy wave. The ship shuddered slightly, but held together as they sped away from the crumbling remains of the moon. For a moment, no one spoke. The bridge was eerily silent, the weight of what they had just escaped still sinking in. Finally, Marik exhaled, leaning back in her chair. "Status report." Zora, still catching her breath, glanced at her console. "The moon's gone, Captain. The structure, everything. It's been completely obliterated." Voss nodded, his expression unreadable. "The failsafe worked. There's no trace left of the machine, or the technology." Marik felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. They had stopped the machine, but at what cost? The technology was lost, and with it, any chance to understand the true extent of its power. But some things weren't meant to be understood. Some technologies were too dangerous, too unpredictable, and this alien creation that had lured the colonists of New Avalon to their doom, was one of them. Marik rose from her seat, her voice calm but weary. "We did the right thing. The galaxy is safer because of it." Orlis, standing nearby, nodded quietly. "But for how long?" The captain turned toward the stars, her gaze distant. "As long as we can hold the line." The crew had faced unimaginable dangers before, but Marik knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of ancient relics, powerful technologies, and dangerous mysteries, some waiting to be discovered, others best left buried. And as the Vanguard sailed deeper into the unknown, Marik couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. That somewhere, out in the vast expanse of space, forces greater than themselves were already setting the next stage of their journey in motion.